All right, Wisconsin. Speaking of Wisconsin, they beat Indiana 91-79. This was not exactly a pretty game. I was talking to my in-laws on, what was it, Friday night, Saturday night, maybe some last night, I guess, about this Indiana team. And I mean, they are not happy with them at all. And I can't say that Mike Woodson is probably happy with them either. CJ Gunn, did he get ejected, or was it just like a flagrant? I think he got ejected, didn't he?
He got ejected, yeah.
Yeah, he got ejected. Max Klesmit was kind of egging him on, but that's also kind of the game. Props to Matt Klesmit if he was able to, get him to react a little bit, because that's what you're trying to do. We mentioned how, Maryland is kind of wasting Jameer Young. Indiana's kind of wasting Malik Reneau. 28 points, 8 rebounds. I don't think Malik Reneau is quite on the same skill level of Jameer Young, but he's definitely a very good player who is not getting quite the recognition he deserves. Peyton Sparks started in this one because kel'el Ware was out, so that was a bit disappointing for them. But, Wisconsin,
Why was he out, by the way? Sorry, JR. Why was he out?
I don't remember. I need to look that
up.
I'll look it up while Anthony's talking. Anthony, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, so this is not I won't say not your dad's Wisconsin team, but not the Wisconsin team that you would have seen this last decade and a half, which are just, grinded out Virginia style slow defense. No, this is a top 5 offensive efficiency Wisconsin team, and you saw every bit of that. I can't remember the last time this team hung 90 on someone in Big Ten play. Maybe during the, non-conference schedule when they play a cupcake, but this team's just a completely different animal offensively. When you got a guy like Klesmit, who's, 5 of 7 from 3, Chucky Hepburn's always going to be, the straw that stirs the drink. I think I've talked bunches about how good AJ Storr has been as a transfer. He is, 100% of the reason why you point to the transfer portal as, if you've got a hole on the team and you need to plug it, go get your guy. Like AJ Storr is that guy for Wisconsin. He's been a complete breath of fresh air for this team offensively. And then Wall and Crowell have they've been anchors in the interior for this Wisconsin team for what feels like 7 seasons now. I feel like those two guys have been there for forever, and they're kind of slithery. They'll duck under a little bit. They have a way of just, they're just a very strong interior duo. So it's a really, really tough team to try to handle, offensively, trying to stop them. And, Indiana tried to keep it interesting, but, without kel'el Ware there, I think that really, Malik Reneau, and that was it, right? It was just, you need a lot more than that. You need bench contributors to be able to hang with Wisconsin and make stops when you need to. I think how are you going to stop them? I will say this is a weaker defensive team than we're used to seeing from Wisconsin, but the way they're scoring, it probably doesn't matter at this point. So it's one of those Wisconsin teams you're just like, man, how is Wisconsin going to win the Big Ten again, or win a share of the Big Ten again? But here they are, year after year, always in the thick of it. It just makes me pull out my hair sometimes, but that's Wisconsin,
Yeah, no, I was reminiscing when I was watching this game back to Wisconsin fans last year talking about how Greg Gard has no offense and, he can't put anything together and, should we move on from Greg Gard? And I'm like, man, has any coach answered what the fans were clamoring about more than Greg Gard has this year?
They had a game where Chucky Hepburn threw a lob off the backboard to a guy who dunked it. And it's like, what am I watching here? This is not Wisconsin basketball. This is completely new product. So.
Showtime in Madison.
Showtime, Lob City.
kel'el Ware was out with an ankle injury in this one, and apparently, I read in the thing, the daily student for Indiana, apparently the student asked Mike Woodson how long he would be out for, and Woodson said, I don't know. I really don't know. Can't say I know. Please don't ask me if I know. I don't know. So, that's Mike Woodson for you. Kent, what were your thoughts on the game?
I was watching this game, I have to admit, while I was watching the new Netflix thriller, American Nightmare, on my second TV. I don't know if you guys have seen this show, but for anyone who's listening,
for Indiana too.
Oh my gosh. It was just, I mean, it was kind of like Indiana season. You're right. But that show, by the way, just a quick plug, thrilling show. It had me twisting and turning on the edge of my seat the whole time. My wife and I loved it. But luckily for us, we have 2 TVs in our living room. So I had this one on the second TV, as we usually do when my wife is around. But a couple things about this game. First of all, Wisconsin, amazing jerseys in this game. They had the silver letters with the red numbers. I think that this is a good look with the white jerseys. And then, as Anthony already talked about, Max. I mean, dude scored. I pulled this tweet up while you were talking, Anthony. He scored 19 points in a row in the second half. Like, insane, was on fire. Dude could not miss. And then even I believe right at the end of that stretch, he had like a pull-up jumper from 3 where it looked like he was going to shoot. And then at the last minute, just like dumped it down into the post. I forget who was down there. It was either Wall or somebody else. But and then got like, I mean, they were just on fire. He was on fire. He could not be stopped. It was ridiculous. And it was really, really fun to watch, actually. Especially while I was watching a show about murder. Even more fun to watch while I was doing that. It was insane. I did want to point out too that I haven't watched a ton of Indiana while Peyton Sparks was on the floor. He is, if we were ever going to do a draft of guys that you want on your team in a bar fight, number 1 pick, Peyton Sparks. Dude is jacked. I didn't realize he was that big. They had like close-ups on him while he was shooting free throws. I've never messed with him. I would never say a bad thing about Peyton Sparks, and I want him to be my friend anytime I go out on the town. I love Peyton Sparks. But unfortunately for him, his team lost this game. Indiana just didn't have enough. Wisconsin, like I said last week, JR, I think that they're a legitimate team to win the Big Ten outright, not just like tie it. I think that they could beat, I really think they can beat Purdue. And I think that they can keep the lead on them and win it outright. And I tweeted out right after the game that I think that Wisconsin could be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think it's legit. I just don't see very many games on their schedule that they're going to lose. I mean, Purdue is one of them that they could lose, but other than that, I'm just not really worried. They get Michigan State at home. Just a lot of other really good things lining up for them on their schedule. So I feel like that Wisconsin is a team that we need to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the season.
I'm not trying to jinx Wisconsin in Madison, but Michigan State has won 2 straight there, and I've been present for both of those wins, and I will also be going this Friday. So,
oh man,
all eyes on that. All eyes on that game.
I am really excited about that game. I'm excited about that one, and obviously the Purdue game. Like, it's just going to be really fun to watch the top tier teams play against Wisconsin, who I think is right up there as well.
So Torvik, one of my favorite analytics guys, he has 4 teams in the Big Ten who currently have a projected record above 500 in Big Ten play. Illinois, Purdue, Wisconsin, and Michigan State. And Michigan State is 11-9, and then there's a whole bunch of teams at 500, and then everybody else is below. So it's just, I hate to say a mid-year for most of the conference, but there are those years where you get, 8, 9, 10 teams who are all kind of in the lower seeds and then a couple higher ones. But this is going to be a year where we have 3 who are top 4 seeds in the tournament, maybe a couple more who are going to be in the, 7, 8, 9, 10 range. But outside of that, it looks like a year where the Big Ten has a couple teams who are really good and then a lot of teams who are just
Yeah, for sure.
Before I get to my point, Not Ryan says going to be crazy when I think he means Sparty beats Wisconsin on Friday. So you have a fan there with you. Okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been workshopping it in my mind. Some people are going to hate me for this. If Rajiv is watching this, I know he's not going to like me for a minute, but hear me out, guys. Wisconsin. I feel like they are kind of like the Iowa of the Big Ten this season. From Iowa football. Hear me out. I know you're like, John, what are you talking about? Other than Marquette, what like really good team have they beat this year? They beat Virginia, but Virginia's 13-6 or something like that. They're kind of a so-so team. I mean, they're good in the ACC, but they're not blowing anybody out of the water. I know they beat team by some good points, but like I don't know. I want to see the big wins before I start crowning them. They went undefeated in the Big Ten. Kent, I know you don't like this, and it's fine. But, I mean, they got to beat Minnesota, Sparty, Nebraska. I mean, Sparty's going to be probably their biggest test. But, I mean, I look at the schedule and I look at their games and I say, who have they really beat that is a really good team? Purdue, who have they beat that's a really good team? Well,
already they beat us once, and they did it handily. They made us look really silly in the Breslin when our team was reeling, but
that's true.
Yeah, I'm with you that they really, outside of Marquette, you look at a team like Purdue who has 6 ridiculous wins, quad 1 wins, where they just completely dominant. Wisconsin maybe doesn't have the strength of schedule there, but they're also just the team that just kind of finds a way. You don't like how they do it, but you're just like, man, they just won again. Like it's not always pretty, but they go out, they get a win.
I don't think that they're the best team in the Big Ten. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the way that their schedule lines up, they have a legitimate chance to still win the Big Ten. I do think that Purdue's resume is still better, but like you look at some of their away games, like you were just saying, at Minnesota, that's a win. They're going to Nebraska. They already beat them by like 16. At Michigan is a win for everybody. At Rutgers is an easy win. At Iowa, at Indiana, they have at Purdue at the end of the year. We talked about this last week. That could be for the conference right there. But, those road games right there, if you take Purdue out of it, like, I don't see one that they really should lose, honestly. And then everybody that they have at home, even, it's like Michigan State's going to be tough and Purdue's going to be tough. But, like, I think they could beat everybody else that they have at home. So, I don't know, man. I just really like their schedule.
If they can get through, so they have a 3-game stretch coming up. If they can get through at home against Michigan State, at Nebraska, and then at home against Purdue, and they can go 2-1 in that stretch or 3-0, I am totally with you. There's no way that team should not win at least a portion of the Big Ten.
Yeah, and when I said Iowa football of Big Ten basketball, that was probably too big. I'm trying to find some kind of comparison for a team that wins games that they should, but I haven't seen them beat like any really, really good teams. And I know that's hyperbolic because
Penn
like
State
Marquette. Well, yeah, that actually kind of fits. And they lost to Penn State at Penn State like 2 games.
That's right.
So there you go. I don't know. I'm not trying to say I'm not a believer in Wisconsin. I do think Wisconsin is a good team. I just want to see them beat a very good team that's not Marquette, because I think Marquette has been up and down a little bit, and I think they have some good wins. I think they have some bad losses as well. But the game I have circled right now is that Illinois game in March.
They did beat a really good Chicago State team. I want to point that out. Yeah, that is a quality win right there at home, which not a lot of teams in the Big Ten have done that this year, beating Chicago State at home.
What's Chicago State's record against the Big Ten? Like 1 or something?
I think it's got to be 1-1, right?
We're catching some strays here, Chris Collins.
Thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.